We live? We are live.
We are live. I'll get the intro out of the way. And while we wait for everybody to pop in. And for those of you just joining us now, we're starting early tonight for this special episode. Assuming I can hit the right button.
Hey, you dorks, this is Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you are listening to The Dorkening.
Hi, I'm Brian Johnson, and although you probably accidentally stumbled across it and have no idea why you're watching it, you are in fact watching The Dorkening.
Hello, this is Tom Kenny, voice actor, the voice of the Ice King on Adventure Time, and SpongeBob SquarePants. Meow. Oh, Gary the Snail, too. Hey, guess what you're filling your eye holes and ear holes with? The Dorkening! Oh, I love the Dorkening. Very popular in Ooh. And Bikini Bottom.
Hi, I'm Lou Ferrigno. You're watching The Dorkening. And you know what? You don't like me when I get angry, so don't get me angry. You better keep watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, this is Felissa Rose, and you're watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, it's Courtney Palm. We're shooting Death House, and you're watching The Dorkening.
This is Anthony Michael Hall, and you're watching The Dorkening. Stay tuned, my friend's going to show you what entertainment's all about, baby.
The Dorkening.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. coffee's so good, it's scary.
Hey, happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to the very early special edition of Splash Pages, the Comic Book Club. And we have a awesome episode. That's why we're doing it early. And we can't wait to get started. With us, as always, Drew. How's it going, my friend?
Hello.
That's
just it. I'm good.
Yeah. And the man who put this all together, Chris. How's it going?
Excellent.
Chris, who'd you bring with us?
We have the writer, one of the two writers of this amazing book, as well as several other amazing comic books here with us, Tim Seeley.
That's my daughter, Valentina, who demanded I'm babysitting today, so she wouldn't let me do this without.
That's fantastic.
Awesome.
So she can contribute. She knows her stuff. We were just playing with action figures. So
excellent, Tim. How are you?
It's been quite a day. When you have a new book drop, it can be great or terrible, and this was a mixture of both.
Yeah, I saw your tweet yesterday that you were. This is the first time you were really anxious about a book. Is it because it was Superman?
No, because it was Lobo. I just feel,
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess maybe both, but also I was a little worried about the label, the black label thing, because I think the way it was explained to me and the way that I think people took what Black Label was meant to be, because I just got comps of it and I saw the book and it's like, oh, this is different. I wrote it as a comic series with the idea that they presented a Black Label was like, make us an evergreen story that can appeal to people who don't necessarily know the continuity, but they know the characters. And that's how I treated it. And then seeing it's like, oh, it's not exactly what people are expecting. And there's no dicks in it. There's no swear words, like, I think people thought Black Label was like, oh, this is where you see Batman's wiener, and I didn't know that, nor did I think that that's what it was supposed to be, because that's not what DC wanted it to be. So yeah,
right. And of course they promote it as, oh, the team from Money Shot, so everyone's thinking, oh, we're gonna see like boobs and pornography and all sorts of things.
Which I thought the team from Money Shot means it'll be funny. And it'll probably be about something, because that's what but I get that with Money Shot too, where people always like, I thought this would have hardcore pornography, which I've said from the beginning, it's about porn. It is not a porn. Like I said, right, literally before it came out, and I don't know how to deal with people's expectations anymore. It's so tiring, But there's this, so whatever. I just do what I have to do.
It is very funny. You have Lois censored out, when she's like trying to correct Clark of what he's saying when he's like having a meltdown in the broom closet over Lex Luthor. Her words are the asterisks, the funny little ways you would spell
Grolix.
out.
They're called Grolix in the business, by the way.
Grolix.
Oh, Grolix.
Yeah, the Grolix.
Yeah, that was hilarious. She's like, Clark's trying to swear again, is he?
Right. And so the joke kind of was like, you'll never see Superman swear.
No,
I don't think you should. And I won't write that. And I thought I'd get it out of the way, because I kind of thought the expectations would be there. And I was right. I fucking nailed it. So
if you want to hear Superman swear, just go watch Fortnite videos of people playing as Superman with their headsets on, swearing as Superman.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I don't even want to know.
Yeah, no, I survived Batman Fortnite. I'm not gonna try that.
That's fair. So also, Tim, you also are doing the King Shark series right now as well, and that's a huge character now because of James Gunn's Suicide Squad, and it's impressive because there's only 2 issues out. I think it's like a mini series. Like, is it like 6 or something?
Well,
right?
It's 12-page story. So in comic book terms and monthly release terms, that's 6 issues. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That. So, and literally you open the first book and it's the Defacer making fun of Nightwing, a character very well. You've worked with him so much. And I opened the book and I just see that. And it took me a second because I was just like, oh, that's genius. Because everybody always focuses on Nightwing's butt, but you're focusing on the other Dick Grayson. You know,
well, see, because I was kind of making fun of Rick, I guess, because she says, "Oh, you don't want everyone to point out that you're a total," and then she doesn't say it. You're such a, and then then it says the first thing she says, Rick. Oh, that's the name he took for himself when he lost his memory. I was just making fun of stuff in general, but I should stop making fun of things because then people get mad at me.
Don't worry. There's no censoring here. Okay,
well, I mean,
although
I think part of it is my approach to. I just want to just address the elephant in the room, which was I worked on Nightwing right before a controversial storyline, and then also I introduced the Defacer, and no one used her since, and that's fine because they were doing their own version. So I just want to be like, well, where's she been since I worked on it? And so I just got this I just got it out of the way, which is. He just never called her, and she was like, that jerk. And she didn't realize it's because he had amnesia, which I thought was funny, right? So, I thought it tied into continuity, but also told you something about her as a character because she's so mean and angry that she got mad before she asked, well, why didn't you call me? And the reason was he got, because he got shot in the head. And it's such a superhero comic thing to have a character, so.
And kind of in the spirit of Suicide Squad, because the original one kind of we have all these characters that nobody's using. Let's just form a team and try to kill them. I mean, you've had the Defacer in the second issue. You see Orca, which is one of the most 90 Batman villains you can think of. I mean, she's a woman that got turned into an orca. And I was just like, wow, talk about throwback.
Well, she was also in my Nightwing run because she was sort of part of the group called the Runoffs, which was an idea that I'd come up with Dan DiDio, which his idea was let Bloodhaven would be full of all the people who got scared of Batman and ran. And so we called them the Runoffs. And Valentina, come here, honey. Come on, baby. Come here. And so, that was kind of one of the storylines that we had in that. And she was part of Sean's group. And I figured it totally made sense if we were bringing Defacer / Sean in, that we would also bring in that some of the people. And that allows me to deal with her past relationships, because part of the character's arc will be that she sort of blows up relationships, that she makes these friends and then and has lovers, and then she basically ruins the relationship because she's such an angry, impulsive person.
Right. Okay.
My kid, she ran upstairs. Okay. There we go.
Are you Tim, are you doing any of the variant covers for Superman versus Lobo?
As of yet, no. I am doing cover for King Shark though. The Lobo one, I think Superman Lobo has less covers than King Shark does. So I don't know that there's 3 or 4 for the first issue, right? But
according to this, there are 1, where are they? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes.
Yeah. I think there's less for the other ones, but also I just get out of the way when Simon Bisley wants to draw Lobo. So, whatever they decide to do, I just let them. I let him get Simon Bisley to do the Lobo cover.
Merca and Dolfo is really blowing up the comic book industry right now with their own stuff.
Oh yeah, she's amazing. She did Sweet Paprika, which just sold out at Image.
Yes.
Done some other stuff. And she and I are old friends. I worked with her.
And that is a more sexually driven book than Money Shot is, by the way.
It is. It's more about restraint, I think, right? It's more about fantasy and sort of and Merca's skills, at cartooning and drawing women and writing women. And so she and I are, she's fucking incredible. And she's an old friend of mine. I worked with her in her first U.S. book, which was Chaos, actually, at Dynamite, because I had reached out and got her to work with me because I thought she was so good. So she was actually sort of the main driver behind Superman versus Lobo, which was DC asked me to come up with a Superman pitch. So I pitched this Superman story. That was kind of what we had. And then I talked to Merca, and she was like, I've always wanted to draw a Lobo. So I was like, holy crap. I went back and rewrote my pitch. And then I turned it in Superman vs. Lobo, and I brought Merca in because she always wanted to draw him. So she got it done for me.
Well, the book turned out great. I finished reading it, and I know Chris, you're almost done reading it as well.
Yeah, I only had like I got up to the point where they're escorting Winslow shot out, and and I got distracted or something, and then I had to jump on the call, so I'm almost finished.
Oh well, the rest of the book is where people get mad at me, so you kind of got to read that part.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but I read like everything else that you've done, so I could easily cover this call very easily.
True.
Vampire the Masquerade, that's ending soon too, right? Isn't that only 10 issues?
Well, it's not ending so much as then it turns into
Werewolf Apocalypse.
Yes, it turns into World of Darkness.
World of Darkness.
Yeah. So it becomes like a setup for a crossover series, and basically that allows us. Yeah, it's raining really hard outside.
It was pouring here in Massachusetts yesterday. We had a tornado and a hurricane.
Yeah, it just dumped on us here. Val, you don't want to go outside. It's raining really hard. Look, honey. But yeah, that allows us to do, sort of build the world. So the first 10 issues are about the vampires of the Twin Cities. Then the World of Darkness story introduces the werewolves, and that allows us to go, because we're treating this very much like a progressive, story. People change, they take new positions, and which I think is one of the strengths of that role-playing game. So we're doing that with the comic as well. So it sort of changes. There's 10 issues, then World of Darkness, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff coming after that.
It's extremely refreshing, by the way, to see another Superman book from Black Label, because Black Label has also been known as Black Label Batman books, because it's just Batman. Like every 5 freaking minutes. And we might have The Question, we might have the other history of the DC universe, which is great. But it's like then there's just another Batman book, and it's just crazy.
Well, that's what people want. I mean, this will be a huge test because doing Superman Lobo was sort of a risk for them. And if it doesn't be successful, expect more Batman books because he sells, It's just I think it's, part of the thing is that Black Label is meant to be this place where you can do these kind of, evergreen sort of things for the mass market. Like it can be for people who've never, or maybe who know of Superman, who know of Lobo, who like those characters, but don't know all the continuity. And so far, I feel like DC's, been told by readers that all they want for that kind of thing is Batman. Like people love, a standalone evergreen Batman book. We know that. They've been buying Dark Knight Returns for fucking 40 years. So,
right.
Can we do it with Superman Lobo, or can we do it with The Question, or can we do it with anything? I hope so. I think those characters are great, but it's up to the readers, really.
Right. So
do you have another character that you want to do as a Black Label book?
Yeah, I mean, and again, understand my view of Black Label is that it's like evergreen books, not necessarily adult or dirty or something. But yes, absolutely, I have an evergreen story that I've pitched for another character. I won't tell you in case it actually happens, but
He-Man Black Label. No, they don't have He-Man anymore, right?
No, DC does it. It's Dark Horse now, but
I can just see the nerd title. It's Tim Seeley hints at secret unreleased project for the Black Label on podcasts that nobody listens to. And then suddenly we get all the hits and all the awards.
Comic Book Resources just blasted out. Nominated podcast splash pages talks to Tim Seeley about new DC project. DC calls Tim Seeley tomorrow and like, what did you talk about?
What did you say?
But I think I really wish. I feel like there are characters that don't necessarily, they don't attract a monthly level of sales.
Tim, hold on. What's that behind you? What's that picture behind you?
Oh,
to the right there. Yeah,
that one.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Kirby.
Yeah. Wow.
Huh. Hey, it's my house. Wait, you want to see a tour? Here's
please.
Army of Darkness there.
Oh wow,
nice.
Yeah, wait.
Yeah. We're in a creator's house. We didn't do this. We had John Ostrander on Sunday. We should have done this with his house.
He's in Chicago too, right? He's still
Yeah.
The bar that inspired Mundins is in my neighborhood actually. So
do you want to do this like MTV Cribs? Like, hi,
yeah,
I'm DC comic book writer Tim Seeley.
Oh, look at all the He-Man toys.
Very cool.
Oh, yes.
Wow, that is.
Wait here. You guys see the tiki wall?
Nice.
That's cool.
Hey,
we got we got some Blade Runner. There we go.
Nice.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's
And
dope.
wait. I was over here before. My tiki bar. There's my.
You gotta have a bar in your own place. You gotta.
Yeah,
Where
there's
do you
my
keep
tiki
all
bar.
where do you keep all the hack slash stuff?
In the attic.
I mean, I have 2 statues. I don't have.
I was going to ask. You got a bottle out. What are you drinking tonight?
I actually was drinking. That was from yesterday. I was actually drinking a Beezer from Old Irving Brewery in Chicago. But there's a bottle on the bar from. Looks like we were making Bacardi. We were making rum drinks the other. We were making mojitos for breakfast. And here's my child digging into the movie collection. She's not supposed to. Don't do that. That's not where you're supposed to be, honey. That's not good. That's Daddy's movies. So there you go. There's a little peek into my meager life.
Awesome.
Very great.
So did you see Patton Oswalt tweeted you just recently?
Yeah, he just made us go viral.
Wow.
Yeah, there was
That's awesome.
4,000 some retweets on that in about a half hour.
Wow. That is crazy incredible.
It's so random when things like that happen. Like that happens to me when I'm working with Screen Rant. They'll be like, "Oh, this one article you wrote that you just wrote for the hell of it. It's trending. It's the top number 3 article on the site." I was like, "Why?"
I tweeted to JMD Mateus the statue that I posted on Goth Girl Horror of the Spider-Man crawling out of the ground from Craven's Last Hunt, and he retweeted that. That had like 500 likes or whatever. I'm like, no post of mine will ever have 500 likes except for JMD Mateus retweets it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is, if I tweeted the very same pages that Patton did, no one would care. I
do. You mean like when you retweet like about a podcast about a comic book that like very few people have ever heard of?
Sure, like those moments, yeah, and that's the way of the attention economy. So that's great. And I saw like Scott Weinberg retweeted it, and a lot of other sort of big entertainment people. On the other hand, it's without context. So then in that case, like I get all the accolades, but also I'm tagged in it. So then the people who are mad about it, they email me or they tweet me. So it'll be interesting. That I guess
Well, I have one of the panels that he was referring to. Hashtag no thanks Superman. And what the hell is the anti-saver? Don't interfere with the God's plans.
I can't. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Why?
Awesome.
That's the. I mean, and obviously the thing is, what I find interesting about this whole thing is like, maybe did people forget what Lobo comics were like? Because the whole thing with Lobo
100%
was that it was kind of nihilist, and it made fun of everything, and it made fun of most often the best Lobo stuff was like very, the big topics like Lobo. My favorite personal one, I think it's probably everybody's personal one, is the paramilitary Christmas one.
Thank you. I was just about to say that.
Which
is the best.
Which is like super fucking dark, right? It's about Christmas.
Is.
Lobo is sent by the Easter Bunny to kill Santa. At the end, parents murder their children. Okay, so like it is really shocking and really offensive and nihilistic, and it's weird to me that people maybe forgot what Lobo was like. I think maybe part of that is it's been, when you integrate Lobo to the rest of the DC universe, you get stories that are not, they're not designed simply for parody. Sometimes he has to fit in, he has to be like somewhat integrated, right? Like, so maybe people forgot, but like, that's what Lobo stories were like. And I loved those. And I thought that was the point of doing Lobo was to, the character is in origin making fun of Punisher and Wolverine. That's the whole thing. That is literally the reason Keith and Roger Silver created that character. And then he became popular because the fans didn't understand it was a parody, right? And so to keep it going, they had to make it even more over the top and more shockingly violent and more weird. And that's it's always a joke, and it's so weird to me that people forget that. So like when you make jokes at Lobo, sometimes people get mad at you and you're like, I don't. What was this character for if not to poke fun at all these things? And part of the story is to make fun of people who think that he's good, right? Like he's meant to make fun of these things. Like part of the story that we're going to tell is that, you know, maybe you're not supposed to idolize the guy who's the epitome of things that are terrible. Right?
I blame the New 52. They made him sexy, and it all went out the window.
Oh God, yeah, that was.
You know, they were like, "Oh, here's the new Lobo," and I'm like, "He's not hairy enough. He's not saying bestiche enough. Okay, nobody's head has been ripped off." I was like, "No, take
but
this."
At that time, that Lobo was not selling at that time, so that was like a moment of necessity, like to figure out a way to make him work, and like, you know. That was like how long after the X-Men movies made Wolverine sexy. Wolverine was always meant to be like a short, runty, hairy, grunting guy, and the movies made him sexy, and that worked. And it's hard to deny with that worked. It fucking worked. Mm-hmm. But I think that's what they were like. Well, we can't make a parody character who's ugly now, and people, because people weren't buying it. So like that was just people working with what they had, which I think is funny because, you know, people don't like that, but then. There's a certain percentage of readers who are going to be mad that we turned him back into a grunting, misanthropic, horrible person.
Right. A lot of people said that Wolverine should have been played by, I don't know the actor's name, but he was in Alien Resurrection, and he's Cher's father in Clueless. He has the look like Wolverine would look like in the comics. He's extremely hairy, pudgy guy. Would have been the perfect like kind of actor to play Wolverine.
No, I remember my favorite was people saying Danzig should have been Wolverine.
Which I support, actually. I'm a huge Danzig fan.
And I was just like, somehow, yes.
He doesn't quite. The only problem would be is he's not quite the actor that Hugh Jackman is. And the thing is, it's hard to deny that Hugh Jackman nailed it and he made it sexy. And would those movies have, where would be where we are now with, you know, sort of superhero movies based on comic books? If not for sexy Wolverine, probably not. So I don't know. It's, you know, it's always just this big experiment, because I feel like if you do things as you understand them or that you think will appeal to people and it doesn't work, then you've been proven wrong. Right.
So, I mean, I agree with you. I feel after watching some of the X-Men movies, I don't walk the same, because now I feel like I have to walk even sexier, just in a sleeveless white beater shirt, jeans, just walk everywhere like an X3. Just nope, can't nope. Got to burn off those calories. Let me just keep walking, claws out. Oh, I'm gonna run now. You know, everywhere. It's like, Logan, what took you so long? I've been walking the whole goddamn movie. Okay, let's kill the Phoenix.
Yeah, and it made the ladies sweat, and it made billions of dollars. So it wins.
Yeah,
you know. I feel like that's the thing with Sexy Lobo. Like that, they tried and they were trying to figure out a way to make that character work. You know, if Superman Lobo doesn't work, then assume that they'll probably come up with some other way. So.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, sometimes I think the best thing with Lobo was when he somehow either got outsmarted by somebody who clearly was out of his class, like when Tommy Monaghan did it in the Hitman Lobo special, which is still one of my favorites.
It's a good one.
Or when he tries to do good, but like he's still Lobo. Like in 52, when he's helping Starfire and the rest of them, he basically rips off her top.
Yeah,
he rips off her top. And then she basically doesn't even shrug it. She just says, I have money because I'm an alien princess. And he was like, oh, I'm going to help you. Cool. Yeah. And then he's like, I have a church, by the way. I have a church of Lobo. And I was just like, boy, this is getting really crazy. And I just want to see Lobo lose his shit. And he did, and it did not disappoint. That was fine.
One of the craziest Lobo team ups. It wasn't really crazy. It wasn't like, you know, like out of control like some of the Lobo stories have been. But I think it was when they relaunched Brave and the Bold just before the New 52, and there is a Lobo Supergirl story.
I love that story.
Because he's like, oh, she's just like whatever. And she's like, oh, excuse me, I'm as powerful as my cousin.
Yeah, I love that story. And again, you know, I love those characters. I'm not a fan of a ton of superhero ongoing stuff, really. I love the genre in general, and I love comics, obviously, but characters I do love include Superman and Lobo, and so I have been reading this stuff, and I was ready for it. And so I was trying to pull from a lot of that stuff, but I felt like the job had to be. Lobo comics were parodies. They were satirical looks at current events, and if you don't do that, I feel like you're not doing the character.
You're dumbing down your content.
Right. And so, I knew it would piss people off, but that's the job, right? I mean, I don't know how to do these things with, and obviously the social media stuff, and that's what Lobo would do. Like, as a person, if he were here in 2021, when he says, I'm going to ruin Superman, he's not going to do it by trying to kill him. That's not going to do it. That's weak. But he would do, he's smart. Actually, like, that's one of the things I felt like I had to bring back to some degrees. Lobo's not dumb. Like, he engineered a parasitic scorpion thing using his biology skills to like kill his whole family. He's smart. He's an asshole, and he's so self-obsessed he misses things. But he's not dumb. So I felt like that had to be a part of this character too. Like, I can't tell a story about him just being a total screw up, because he's not. He's just so narrow-sighted because all he thinks about is himself that he fails. That is true. But he's not an idiot.
I was just talking to Leo offline just before we started about the Superman the animated series Blu-ray box set is finally coming out in HD, the animated series from the 90s, and one of the best episodes on there, a lot of people agree, is the Main Man Part 1 and 2.
Of course.
Yeah, I love that stuff. I mean, again, the reason Superman and Lobo didn't come up together either, right? Superman is from 1938, and Lobo comes out in the 80s, but very early on, one of the early stories, I can't remember exactly what year it was, but it was not too long after his debut when he becomes the Simon Bisley leather jacket version of Lobo. Someone was like, he's the perfect foil for Superman. He's the last son of his planet. He's extremely powerful, but morally, he's in every way the opposite. He's selfish. He cares only about himself. He's super fragile in every way. Like, he can't stand to not get the credit or not to be accepted. And that's why I want to do the story. It's like, they are perfect. It's in the same way that Superman and Lex Luthor is a perfect combination, because Lex Luthor, is the epitome of humanity, right? He can't stand the idea that someone not from Earth is better than him, that someone other than him is better. It's really close to that with Lobo, except Lex Luthor has a code. He's a business guy, right? He's a scientist, whereas Lobo is a mercenary. So, like, it's even more entertaining. And I kind of feel like we had to do that in every way. We had to show their similarities, and we had to show what makes them so different.
Right.
Well, you did a great job on it. And one of the things now we urge everybody, definitely head on over to your local comic shop and pick up the Black Label that's available today. Or if you want to buy it digitally, you can check out Comixology. I put a link in the chat. But you had Lobo start his own essentially LexTube commercial or show.
Yeah.
Which I found that hilarious.
Because he would. That is YouTube is obviously LexTube is YouTube for the DCU, but that is the place for egotistical maniacs to yell their bullshit into the world, and that is where Lobo would go. Yeah. Valentina, what are you doing, honey?
Again, I urge everybody to check it out. But my dad said you were an evil alien employed by the government to generate a culture of passivity in our society while slowly draining us of our life forces. Don't save me, please.
Well, when I read that out loud, I'm like, oh, we went hard at this book. But honestly, I wrote this in last April, so some of this stuff we were a little bit prescient on, even in a weird, sad, sick way. So, yeah,
a little bleak there.
Hey, are you? I was wondering, are you going to be returning to your vampire creator-owned vampire book that you did with Dark Blood? Yeah,
Dark Red. Yeah,
Dark Red.
Yes, absolutely. I actually wrote. I mean, that's the thing. Sometimes I see stuff where people are like, "Oh, hey, where's Seeley been?" Because I do this DC stuff, and I'm like, guys. I've been working the entire time. I work like 6 weeks out of every month. I'm writing comics. Like, I write more than 4 books a month.
He has a life, people.
because
Yeah,
because we get the emails because the podcast gets the emails asking where's Hack Slash coming back, and I'm like, tweet Tim Seeley, don't.
I mean, but I do Hack Slash. I did new stuff for the hardcover, and I wrote I do a new story for each one, and I do.
Yeah.
I'm always making shit, but it's weird. It's like, I think for some people, like, you're only working if you're doing Batman or Superman or whatever, or Wolverine, and if you're not doing those things, they're like, I don't know who you are. But Dark Red. I did a new story. It's going to be announced, I think, soon, and I've been working on Dark Red in other capacities. So, yes, that's a big one for me. I love that story. I think it's sort of as personal to me as Hack Slasher Revival. So I hope people check it out.
How did the second Kickstarter do? Is it still going? I didn't follow it as much as the first one.
Yeah, it's doing great. I mean, our job is just to, we print those anyway. They're sort of just it's a way to do these hardcovers because we do them through Image, but it's a way for us to add new stuff because the cost is very high in the beginning to print hardcovers. So we figured out this thing where we allow you to sort of, or we ask you if you would like to pre-order it through Kickstarter, which is great because then we get the money right away. Then we instantly turn around and spend that on extra stuff. So that's new pinups, new short stories, new, remastered stuff to make this even better. And then we also are able to sell it through Image Comics, which is our home. So it works great. We don't, our goal is not like to make $1 bazillion on this. All we need to do is to get as many sort of people who want to pre-order this and get the alternate covers, and also to allow us to pay for a bunch of new cool shit. And then when these come out, they're like the prettiest thing I can make, right? This allows us to make like the most beautiful object I am able to do. So hopefully people enjoy them when they get them.
So can people find more on your timseeleycreative.com?
Yeah, there's some stuff there. I mean, unfortunately, the best way to find anything from me is Twitter. I'm at Hackin' Tim Seeley on Twitter. Though I hate it very much, that is where I am able to quickly post all my bullshit. So the Kickstarter is on there. You can yell at me about Superman Lobo, like 50% of the people who read it.
No, for me, no. It's really good, and people do. And I did go into Black Label in the beginning, wondering because the first Black Label book is Batman's dick, so it set the freaking groundwork for the whole
which is such a problem. I know why they did.
And then everyone's thinking, it's going to be like hardcore violence and nudity every 5 minutes, like a Vertigo book or something like that. And then they do the what do you call it, the other history of the DC universe, which isn't a comic book, is more of like tales of the DC universe told by minorities in their own voices, and that's really cool. And that could have been printed by the regular DC continuity. That could have been printed by,
but it's not, because the intent was that the original intent, and I think this is so interesting that the Dick, which was such a media moment, right? So I feel like, Fox News kind of owned that moment, which is like originally Black Label. And I asked Andy Corey, who was one of the original editors on this. So he told me the original intent was these are supposed to be, creators have some freedom to do standalone evergreen books, right? That's the original idea. So, that means like that gives them a chance. They can reprint Dark Knight Returns. That works, right? Because that's what that is. You don't have to have read every Batman comic to read Dark Knight Returns. But they can also do like something like, Scott Snyder's American Vampire.
Yes.
And just things like the idea was you can pick up this book and enjoy it. That was the idea. You don't have to be part of the monthly sort of thing. And so when I was working on Superman Lobo, I picked a time. And again, I'm a Superman guy. I know Superman. I picked this sort of like general Superman moment. So it's like this kind of, it probably kind of takes place in the regular universe. I don't know exactly when, but Lois doesn't know he's Superman, and he doesn't have a son. And the reason was that doesn't work for what I wanted to do this story. And they were like, great. And that was so cool of DC because they understood I want to tell a story about these two guys, and it doesn't involve their children. It doesn't involve them being married, or it doesn't involve all this legacy stuff. But, it does involve the most Superman things I can think of. So that's why he's got Jimmy Olsen, right? To me, one of the most important things about Superman is Jimmy Olsen. And so it has Lois Lane, and it has his friendship with Batman, and it has his friendship with Marsh Manor. Because to me, those are the things that are, help us define that character. Which I thought was interesting, because I saw some people react like, well, this doesn't change anything. It's like, no, it's not changing anything. It's explaining to you who these guys are. So that
I wasn't expecting it to be like a continuity retcon of some kind. I knew it was going to be its own standalone.
Yeah.
And if they reference it, and if like years down the road in Action Comics, Lobo shows up, whatever, because Action Comics right now is the only Superman book, and Lobo shows up and they reference the story, then that's great. Then, hey, you're in continuity,
Well, I mean, again, it's just meant to be sort of like, somebody explained this to me once when I was working on a Deadpool thing, which I thought was great, which was they called it, it was Marvel, but they used the term dancing between the raindrops, which is just like, look, you're just sort of, there's the things that you see, the raindrops coming down, and you're just going between them. You're not ruining anything. You're not interrupting anything, but you're just sort of picking a story that we didn't see, right? And so to me, this works. We pick up on like the Lobo relationship with Miss Tribb. That's, to me, was a defining character moment. If you've read the first Lobo miniseries, where he has to go kill his teacher, and then he's stuck dragging her across the universe, and he hates her. Of course, I'm going to put her in the story because she's a defining moment for that character, and his relationship with her makes sense. So when at the end, spoilers before if you haven't read it, at the end of the story, Newman brings back Zarnia and Krypton, and next issue is Superman is hanging out on Zarnia, and he lives with Miss Tribb. She's taking care of him because he doesn't have his powers because on our planet with a red sun. So like I wanted to make sure that I use those things that are defining characters, but it doesn't matter to me necessarily when that happened. It's just that it's defining spiritual canon, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I have a different unrelated question. It's actually something related to Hack Slash. Yes, I know, Chris. Okay,
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, I know you didn't, but you didn't have to. This is
Chris
part
is
of your
the guy.
I myself, because of someone I work with, I started getting into the series, and I was really fascinated that you've had so many crossovers with, you had Evil Ernie, you had Chucky, you had Halloween Man, you even had Army of Darkness.
Vampirella.
And thank you. Thank you. It's a walking horror Wikipedia. So regarding that, were there any and you also did Hatchet, which was awesome. I read that, and I'm a huge Hatchet fan. So to see that was amazing because Victor feels better. So were there any that I guess that you wanted to do that never got a chance to, like Hack Slash versus Candyman or something like that?
Well, I mean, we have a big one, which was Devil's Due had the rights to do Halloween comics when I was doing Hack Slash there. I drew the 2 series of Halloween, 2 of them. And when we originally pitched a Hack Slash versus Halloween comic, and the story was going to be that Cassie's first maniac was going to be Michael Myers. And I had this whole thing where she left, Wisconsin, and she ended up in Haddonfield, and we were going to do it, and they were pretty cool about it. And then there was I can't remember exactly what happened, but there was some backlash. There's going to be, I can't remember this exactly. So if I misquote this, please don't blame me. But there was going to be a Hellraiser Halloween movie. I think it was called Halloween. At some point. And whatever happened around that made the people who owned the rights to Halloween kind of nervous. And so they didn't want to do a crossover. And so we didn't. So I took that pitch and I turned it into Hack Slash My First Maniac.
So if you pick up the book or download the audiobook on Audible, Taking Shape 2, they go over in insane detail every single Halloween movie sequel that never happened, and they go over the 2 versions of Hellraiser Halloween they were supposed to do, and what the script was, who was involved, the directors, you know what I mean, the writers. Obviously, it wasn't really cast, but that book is an amazing book. It's best to get it on Audible. to just go over like all the different Halloween films, and they covered that one specifically, obviously.
So whatever happened there, and that sounds amazing. I'll have to check it out sometime. That did mess up whatever we were going to do. You know, I don't know how far we were along license wise, but we were far enough along that I wrote a 5-issue pitch for it. And then we turned it into My First Maniac, which we took out Michael Myers, and I instead inserted, I got sort of into this urban legend of the video game Polybius. Have you ever heard of that? Polybius was this video game that never existed, but people said that you would play and it would kill you and shit like that. And so I instead made the character, and I combined it with one of my favorite comic book ads from the 90s was this for a game called Slaughterhouse, I think, or what it was called. But it was like you played a slasher. Do you remember that game?
Yeah.
I've never played the game, but I love the ad. So
yes, Slaughterhouse, yeah, or Splatterhouse.
Splatterhouse.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Splatterhouse.
There you go.
So we took out Michael Myers, and I created a character based on my love for that ad. So there you go.
Yeah, the ad was awesome.
Yep. And now, yes, that guy. Yeah. And so now instead of Michael Myers, this is a different story. But I mean, that shit happened to us all the time. You know, we actually very early, there was a movie meeting at some point very early where we had talked to New Line, or I can't remember who it was, but we had done a meeting which they wanted to do. They had a script for Jason versus Freddy versus Ash. So this is before it got turned into a comic book, but very early.
Love that comic. So can keep going.
Yeah. So they had a script for that, and for some reason there were some legal problems with Ash, which I'm sure you're not surprised to find out that character's got some, because there's like Evil Dead and there's the Army of Darkness. They have different licenses. So that movie couldn't happen. And so one of the meetings we took, they're like, well, what if we did Freddy versus Jason? It was Freddy versus Jason 2, and then you introduced Cassie in that movie, and then you spun it out into her own movie. So that was a meeting we had. I was like, it was some, you know, God bless whoever pitched. I don't recall who did that idea, but it is just like pre-Zoom, so I don't have it on record. But someone pitched that we do that, and
there you go.
Statue. Yeah, there you go. And so it didn't happen, but I thought that was cool, and I had done some pitch art for it, and that still exists. It got turned into a print, and I sold the commission to somebody for that. So like, we did weird shit that, you know, didn't happen, but I always use the ideas because I'm a recycler. But you know, there's a world that shit went through, and then obviously you got the comic because they James Cohoric did the comic adaptation of Freddy versus Jason versus that.
Yeah, it's great.
Just want to put my little dork news into it. Just to back up a little bit, Splatterhouse. If you play the import version, because that's a hell of a lot more bloodier than the U.S. version. For the U.S., they toned it down quite a bit. They took out like the red blood and all that shit. Sure. The import was a lot more gruesome, a lot more, you know, violent, and just a much better game.
And if you get if you have the remake they did for Xbox 360 back in like 2010, it came out, or 2011. It came with like all 3 of the original games.
Oh, nice. Is it the Genesis version or the PC Engine?
I don't know. The 3 original games are on the disc. You know, you can play them with the remake version, which, you know, has, you know, the problems. I don't even know who owns Splatterhouse anymore, because that game took forever to come out, and it was bogged down in like legal red tape due to like rights and stuff like that. And it sucks because it's a franchise that they could easily turn into something more than just, you know, a one remake at this point now, 11 years ago.
Yeah. So Tim, I had another question. Well, actually 2, but I'll save that one for later. So I just also finished reading Thanos versus Deadpool.
Come on,
what a weird story that was. And so
was it weird? I thought it was pretty funny.
No, weird. No, weird in a great way.
Okay.
You know. So like you've worked with Deadpool before. You did the, I believe, did the Mercs with the Merc for Money, right?
Yeah,
something like that, right? Yeah. So you did that and everything. What keeps drawing you back to Deadpool? Because the reason I ask is because you seem to have that really nice grasp of the character. Because I've been a fan for years, and I always feel like some people very rarely get it. They either make him too pop culture-y or then not enough. And it's interesting to finally see someone like you, Brian Posen and Jerry Dugan, Fabian Niesha, you guys have that nice balance of it's a good story, but it's also, it's Wade. So pop culture references and wonderfulness. And also Death Thanos is still, what a great pun.
Yeah. I mean, so I think there's a character because he's the only funny sort of character at Marvel. I mean, Spider-Man, I guess, but there's so few like characters that you can be funny with. That there's a tendency to make him just funny and not tragic. And I think the thing is, let's remember is he's fucking tragic. Like as funny as he is, it's all about covering up that he is a just mess of a human being. And so I feel like if the best way to make him work is when he shows a funny side and then you see the dark side that he's covering up. And in this case, like he's such a pathetic dude that he's in love with death and his only competition for her affection is Thanos. That's pretty tragic. So that, and that's kind of what I tried to do with that series. I feel like, and maybe this is just my weakness all around, I had so many ideas. I put them all in. I put every fucking idea in there. And I think it's just energetic, and maybe it's too energetic. I don't know. But, I guess maybe I fall victim to that. It's like, that is such a fun character. It's one of the best comic book specific characters, which obviously worked pretty well in mass media. But he's such a perfect comic book superhero character. And, it's just hard not to just put everything you want to do in that character.
And Disney seems to be teasing us some Deadpool because he's showing up in reaction videos. It's Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool costume, and he did one with Korg from Guardians of the Galaxy, or Thor, I'm sorry. And so, they are slowly giving us like, yeah, we own Deadpool now. We're doing it. We're doing it. We just gotta figure out how we're gonna do it. And here's a few 3-minute videos of him watching trailers and doing his Deadpool shtick.
And you're right the first time. It was Korg, not Thor.
Yeah, but he's in Thor, right? He was in.
He's in Thor. I'm sorry, I said Guardians of the Galaxy, but I should have said Ask Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. So, and then the last question I have, Tim, is like, you've been writing comics for a while, whatnot, and you've been. I've met you at 1 or 2 conventions, and thank you for signing my books. Sure. But the question I have is like, how does it feel when you see characters that maybe you help create, or like if you see your character from Hack Slash being cosplayed at a convention, how does that feel? Or like do is it just like, oh my god, hi, like you look fantastic, can I get a photo? Like what is that like, knowing something you had the idea for, people not just relate to you so much that they'll dress as it, but it's almost like you feel like you're meeting them in real life?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Hack Slash was obviously my sort of first experience with that, and for a long time, that was a very consistent experience. Was that I would meet, young women and some dudes that were dressed as the characters, and to me, it was always like a validation of your ability to connect with someone, right? Like, if you make something and someone likes it enough to want to be that, then that's like a validation that's really hard to sort of top, I think, It's weird because I haven't been to a convention so long, I've lost that. So like, I feel like I'm more sad now, right? Because I can't see, nobody shows up at my house dressed as Chip from Dark Red or anything, right? Like, so I don't know if it made an impact because I can't go to conventions, and the closest thing I've had was Free Comic Book Day, and that was kind of a weird event, because it was at the wrong time of year, and I don't know, people didn't show up like I thought they would. And so, yeah, it's weird. I guess I didn't realize how much I relied on it to make me want to keep going.
You did a free comic book day event just recently and nobody showed up?
I mean, no, people did show, but not like they used to. I mean, it was just, and part of it is fucking COVID, obviously. But on the other hand, it was in August instead of May, and people are conditioned to go to May, and
because it's normally after the release of a comic book movie too. Over the last 20 years, a comic book movie has come out. It's free comic book day right afterwards.
Well, this was Suicide Squad, but also like that would have had a muted. I love that movie. It's probably my favorite comic book movie of the last 5 years, but it had a muted impact in a weird way because of COVID and because of sort of lack of, shared experience. Most people watched it, I think, on HBO Max, and my kid is upset.
No, we're gonna let you go anyway, Tim. We do appreciate having you been on. We know
Come here, baby. Okay, yeah, I gotta get going.
Hopefully more happy mojitos and less sad mojitos in your future.
Tim, I will reach out to you to do the plug for Goth Girl Horror. We just kept missing each other for that. I'll set up a new little thing.
You have to email my email, not Twitter. I hate Twitter. I try to avoid Twitter because there's always people yelling at me, so I don't check the messages. You have to email my email.
I'll email you. I'm sorry.
Yes. Remember, Twitter is where
Twitter decides to cancel Tim Seeley.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
Or if you read
that new Dark Red and World of Darkness comics. I'm such a hardcore Vampire the Masquerade fan. I mean, I'm like seriously hardcore Vampire the Masquerade fan.
It's great. That's awesome.
You
man.
Vampire fan? No.
I got my Vampire the Masquerade, guidebooks. I don't know if they're still in date or not with continuity of what I can play.
Okay, I got to get going. I got an upset daughter. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Tim.
Thank you so much, Tim. Have a good one.
So we have all the information where you can reach out to Tim or follow him in the show notes up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. And Superman versus Lobo, absolutely fucking loved it.
Oh yeah, a lot of fun. Do we want to do a quick little since we all seem to, by the way, have a voice on the Spider-Man show? The Spider-Man show is coming back next week with Acts of Vengeance, the cosmic Spider-Man storyline where he gets cosmic powers. By the way, Venom currently just had those same cosmic powers. So if you've been reading Venom, you know what's been going on over there. And of course, we're all hyped on Spider-Man because of some trailer that came out finally, officially. And everyone can shut up for a while until they push the release date back.
Yeah, but according to the leakers, the next trailer is going to show Toby and Andrew.
Okay. Well,
whatever.
We'll see it when it happens, and we'll believe
it. Listen, at this point, I feel like we could pitch a better story that could bring all three of them in there. That would just be grand and wonderful, and see Chris's bug-eyed wonder face. Like when he mentioned the one thing Chris did this. You do this face when you're like I want to meme it and be like when you tell him a new Hack Slash issue is coming out, or that Vlada has reached 1,000 sales, or I don't know, whatever.
I don't think I revealed anything about like sales of Vlada, but I did. I was sitting right next to me. I didn't pull up whatever. Tim's Vlada cover was sitting right next to me.
So
pretty awesome.
While you guys are here, what did you think of the trailer?
I was shocked to see Alfred Molina, but I don't. Here's one problem I've had with the entire Spider-Man thing, and this is echoed by a lot of fans. As much as I do love this Spider-Man, this whole Peter needs a mentor every 5 minutes. Like first it's Tony Stark, now it's Doctor Strange. It's like because of the problem.
Mysterio would kind of count too, Chris. I feel like that kind of counts. Mysterio kind of mentoring him a little.
Yeah, and Nick Fury. The problem Sony and Disney have with sharing, custody over Spider-Man, which is it really is. It's a custody battle. Is the reason why Uncle Ben is like never mentioned ever. Not even like, oh, but Uncle Ben. You know what I mean? Every 5 minutes is, and they're shoehorning in these other characters to be his mentor, father figure. It's like, you ever read a Spider-Man comic book? Peter didn't need a mentor father figure. His mentor father figure got killed, and that is what drives him to become Spider-Man. You know what I mean? His entire life, it's Aunt May, and then eventually it's Mary Jane. in terms of like just a driving force in his life or whatever. But the memory of Uncle Ben, and just I'm seeing this thing with Doctor Strange, and I'm so happy because they're both the creations of Steve Ditko.
Happy is another mentor.
Happy's another mentor. But they're both the creations of Steve Ditko, and I'm so happy. And I understand Steve Ditko didn't want anything to do with either, Marvel or Disney or whatever, Sony.
Did
But
you see Ditko was represented in the trailer?
How so?
His name's graffitied in the back on one of the scenes.
Which is funny considering, according to his nephew, he never cashed the $3.5 million worth of checks that Sony has sent him since the Raimi films.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean that, but just wanted to.
But honestly, here's the thing. I saw so many comics in the trailer of moments they pulled. Like I saw the One More Day. I saw like one scene I remember that I loved from JMS's Happy Birthday run. That's the Peter, stop talking. Just shut up. The whole spell thing. I loved seeing the Goblin Bomb. I don't know if that means exactly Green Goblin. So that's one.
Well, you hear his laugh also.
Yeah, I know. But
you do hear his laugh, and my only hope is that, do you think they improved that costume, or are we just gonna get that original costume because it's classic?
Oh, you mean the Power Ranger?
Yeah.
Totally. But for me, I'm sorry, the second Ock showed up and he had that "Hello, Peter," he gave me such ultimate later on Doc Ock vibes, and I was so with it.
Yeah.
Like the second I saw that, I was like.
And did you see all the electricity in the sand in the trailer? A lot of people are thinking Sandman and Electro. And by the way, Electro done correctly this time with the yellow lightning.
Yeah. No dubstep too. But I think the thing I love is that I saw Alex Ross, I think, had posted a couple of images that he had done of some big Spider-Man fight that involved pretty much like everybody. He was like, Spider-Man Homecoming. And I was just like, guys, this is the blueprint right here. It's got the Goblin, it's got Mysterio, it's got Ock, it's got Sandman, all that. I was just like, just please don't fuck this up. Like,
it's got a lot of characters in it, which could overcrowd a film. And I mean, obviously, Avengers, they had 100 characters. The Avengers.
Apparently there's 7. There's 6 villains. A 7th will appear at the end.
Okay, but the one thing I will say, guys, I am a little worried about as a creative outlet is I feel that comics are using the multiverse a lot, and I don't mind it. If it's like for Spider-Verse, that 100% made sense. It was a great movie because all that. But I feel like we're just seeing so much multiverse theory. I feel it's starting to feel as just as oversaturated. How every horror buff will always jump to Cthulhu, and don't get me wrong,
or Mephisto.
You're right. Then don't get me wrong. Wonderful, great, evil villain. But then I'm just like, there are others. It's like
there are thousands of public domain villains you can use.
Right, exactly. Or it's not just that; it's also like you go to Hellboy, the Agru Jihad. They're essentially Cthulhu and his entire fucking family, but they're awesome and wonderful, and you don't need to see them to know that this is some scary ass shit. But I just feel like, again, it's like, okay, how can we make this? We're going to go to the multiverse, and I'm just like, guys. Like, if we draw from this too much, then it will be a cliche. And as much as I would love to see Tom next to Toby and next to Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man, I would love to see that. But at the same time, if it doesn't end up happening, I was like, as long as it's still a good movie, nobody would care. Right?
Right.
So it's just, I want it to be done well. But at the same time, I don't want us to constantly keep relying on multiverse theory simply just to tell a good comic story. There are tons out there. It's just,
I get what you're saying, but we have to keep in mind that, this is for the long haul. I know a lot of people abuse multiverse and all that, but going with Loki, this is essentially the beginning of Phase 4, and a lot of Phase 4 is going to be hinged around the multiverse. And probably Doctor Strange will seal everything up, and then we'll go more Kang. So it's just the beginning. It's a long drawn out story, and we'll be living with the multiverse for probably another year.
The other thing we should discuss, Leo, is what did this podcast get nominated? What did you get nominated for?
Yes, we got nominated for a bunch. I believe best short form,
which is odd considering Splash Pages is kind of long.
Thank you.
So
that's what I said. I'm like, Splash Pages is not short. It's like an hour or more.
Yeah, I was when I was submitting them. I asked about long form and short form, and apparently long form is like 4 hours.
What podcast is 4 hours besides
apparently a lot of Kevin Smith doesn't even do 4 hours, but so long form I think is like 3 to 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then you got nominated for best host.
Yes. Yeah.
The hostess with the mostest.
And Goth Girl Horror is competing against this podcast.
Awesome.
May the best show win.
I mentioned that to Tim, and he's like, "How the hell does that work?" I'm like, "I don't know." So you're competing against yourself. I was like, "It's sort of." I'm not a regular co-host on Splash Pages, so I'm not competing with myself.
Also, Creator Spotlight. Also, Steve's podcast, his Super Retro, Token with.
So if we win, we can say we're now an award-winning podcast.
Yes, you can.
Sweet.
You can say you're on an award nominated.
Yes.
You can say that right now. Award nominated.
Don't you work? Isn't Screen Rant an award-winning website too?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Believe me, yes, it is. And gentlemen, I just want to say again, I'm so happy to work here, because if I have to tell you about how many applications I take a day that do not know how to follow instructions, it is astounding. I actually had somebody
tell me about
a song and a poem as a cover letter, and I was just like, there is not a single comic reference in this entire damn thing.
Oh my god, Drew! When I put the thing out there, I'm looking for help originally for the deceased TV comic thing. All I got was emails going, "I know comics." That was it. I know comics in the email. Not their name, not their phone number, not their resume, not their IMDb, nothing. I know comics.
Chris, welcome to my world.
I'm like, I'm just rude. I'm just as rude as hell back to him. I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me with this?
No.
Do you not?
Chris, you don't understand. I don't need to be rude. I have a bunch of templates that I just click. Thank you. Bye. Next. And I said,
like, no, you can't be rude to these people. I'm like, but they email me the stupidest goddamn thing.
You don't understand. If it wasn't a conflict of interest, and Leo, I've told you this, and Chris, I'm sure I've said this to you as well, I would create a Twitter and just post some of the things that some of these people say.
Oh, well, that's like, unfortunately, then you get into a huge privacy.
Exactly. Yeah. But let me just tell you, if I could, I'd get so many followers. Because people would just be like, is this for real? I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh, but what you can do is, have you ever read the comic strip To Our Valued Customers?
Yes.
Do what that guy did. Take those stories, don't use their names, that is one of my favorite comic strips ever. And the fact he did it on the backer boards that go inside behind, the bags for comic books is brilliant. You know what I mean? And he's like, I have all those or whatever. He sells them sometimes at his table. I think he's going to be at Boston Comic Con because he is a New England person. So, by the way, Boston Comic Con is next weekend. Are you guys going?
I'm not. I can't. One of my best friends is coming in for a baby shower, and I haven't seen her in like 2 years. And
you're having a baby
in November. One of my best friends. So I was like,
you're
no. Whoa. No.
Everyone spread the word. Drew's having a baby. Got
Oh my
revealed
God.
here on Splash Pages.
Dear God. Splash Pages. Oh crap. No. It's,
First, it's Tim Seeley's top secret DC project. Now Drew has a baby coming from
oh
Screen
my
Rant.
God. Please don't.
Leo, what's your big top secret story? Are you pregnant too?
No.
With a Star Wars baby.
Yeah, Star Wars baby. No, it's,
If he ever has a baby, he'll name it Grogu, and his wife will slap the divorce.
That'd be the middle name, especially if it's a girl. Be like, what's your middle name?
well,
Grogu?
I can't really do anything like that because getting married. So my last name is Pond. My wife's my last name is Pond. My wife's last name is Walden. We had the Walden Pond there.
Leo, because I respect you and because I don't want to get thrown out of this show, I'm not going to say anything.
Do you remember on Jay Leno, he used to hold up like pictures from the newspaper of people's last names combined together to form something that is just ridiculous?
I was going to send in a picture. Because it was always like crazy store names and stuff like that. And what the hell was it?
I can't. Your life is just an odd mix of mystery and wonder and horrors. Like Leo, the more I know, the more I'm like, what did Rich get me into here?
I will say that I mentioned this to Drew, Leo. John Ostander is going to be helping Drew and I with our project.
Very cool. Congratulations.
Yeah. I said, hey, your wife, everything, she has accomplished stuff. And it was so, I honestly, I didn't know that his wife had passed away of breast cancer until, before he came on the show. And I was just like, my grandmother's had, my grandmother who passed away this year had breast cancer and beat it. My mother's had breast cancer and beat it. So, we'll turn it into a whole episode about, breast cancer awareness at the very end and so on and so forth. And he's like, oh, that'd be awesome. Do you want to talk to anyone else I know? And I'm just like, all the people.
It just opens the door to the comic kingdom. And I was just like,
I get sent in like directions by people that I've made contacts with who are just like, unfortunately tied down to legal red tape of what they can and can't talk about. But like Mike Carlin has like steered me in like directions, even though he can't always talk about things due to apparently when you get high up in chain of command, DC Warner Brothers puts you under a tight freaking leash of what you're allowed to say, even in like anything. And it's like, wow. He's like, once upon a time, Chris, this was so easy. And then like 3 years ago, everything changed. I was like, what was everything?
Yeah.
Like, we got new owners.
Mike Carlin does the subtle thing. He was like, yeah, I can't say anything. I wish I could help you. Wish I could help you out.
Catherine, all right, I'm gonna go back and we never had this conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
There's this book, Chris. Go to Amazon and look at the book and the author's name. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, it's like, thank God he gets the cues. Oh God.
He's done that to me like 4 times, of being like, there's a thing that you should go check out over in my friends list.
So Leo, I want to thank you because every time now I have the cool stories. So I'm telling my friends like, oh yeah, I just got this interview with John Ostrander. It's like the guy who helped create the Suicide Squad. People are like, what? How cool? Like, when do you get to do this stuff? And I'm just like, I know people and they motivate beyond conversations at comic book stores, And then I told my father, Leo, about the whole Julie Newmar thing that might happen.
Yeah.
And of course he was like, whoa, that's so cool. And then he does that usually, she was Catwoman. I was like, Dad, we've had this conversation so many times. Like, it's one of those where I catch myself doing it. I was like, and I've become my father. Holy crap. Kill me now. I mean, even, John, Catherine, all this stuff. Like, I was talking to my friend about it. He was like, you've met a lot of people through this thing. And I'm like, I know, it's worth every hour I lose a day. And even
anytime you want to join us on Monday, just say a word.
You know what? I have to space these things out because as patient as your wife is with things, I feel like I have to make sure I spend time with my partner, because if I'm just on 24/7 podcasting, she's like, oh, okay. But if it was a podcast, love me. And I'm like, oh God,
Well, I make my wife is awesome. She understands Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday I'm busy, and then weekends is prep work. But like Thursday, Friday, I make sure I'm doing nothing. It's all devoted to her, and it's just and then weekend, weekend is split, 50-50.
Hey, listen, I'm still waiting for the day when all of us are sitting at the same table and there's not a computer screen or stacks of comics or things. So I'm going to be like, I can't just turn off the screen and escape you guys. Shit.
Isn't that coming for Monster Expo?
Possibly. Is that? I don't. Right?
Don't you have a table at Monster Expo?
I do.
Where is that?
Fairfield, Massachusetts. It's 2 days. It's a tiny little new horror convention.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We should probably. Oh, Drew just left. That's okay. I have to actually conference Drew about that TV project if he ever comes back. But I'll just message him. I'm gonna go as well, Leo.
Okay. Yeah, I believe his battery died. That's why he did.
Okay.
Oh shit. So just check the show notes up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. You can find all the information for Chris and Drew and myself there. Any last words, Chris, before I hit the magic button?
Like an ending quote or something. I'm not very good at that.
Okay.
We want to hear more about Tim Seeley. Go check out Goth Girl Horror, the other nominated podcast among the Amalgamania podcast that were nominated. Tim Seeley's comic book hack slash. I've done it for the last 3 years with Tim's blessing. All sorts of fun. We talk about we talk about hack slash, which was the Goth Girl Hunter of Serial Killers book that he talked about on the show, as well as the other podcast we do with Drew is coming back next week. New episode will be posted up later this week or early next week. Spectacular Sal Buscema era podcast here on the Dorkening Network, and late this week we'll also have a new episode of Boobs, Blood, and Badasses, the Hammer Horror podcast. Which we got an email about asking why is it named this, and I'm like, you have never seen a Hammer movie, have you?
Let me know.
We have the Gorgon coming. What? Sorry.
Let me know when that's up so I can pull an episode.
Yeah, I will be posting it this weekend. The Gorgon and classic old Hammer movie, and then we're going to be doing the Karnstein trilogy, which is a series of lesbian hammer vampire movies.
Oh, and Drew is back. You lost power, didn't you?
I didn't lose power. I just forgot to plug my computer in. There's a difference.
Oh, okay. We're saying our goodbyes anyway.
Yeah, and
okay, cool.
Well, since you're here, just real quick, the Jay Leno picture I was going to mention. In the town that I grew up, there was 2 electronics stores next to each other. One was Boner Electric. The other was Beaver Electric.
Okay, I'm going to go.
Oh, my God. And people complained about the podcast title of the Hammer Show.
Yep. Right across the street from each other. It was hilarious. Well, on that note, we'll let you guys go. Drew, did you have any last words before we wrap it up?
Buy this book, support Tim Seeley, help him continue to make weird choices. Yep, there you go. Superman Lobo versus Lobo and King Shark and anything else he's done. Support these weird creators so they can continue to entertain us because, God, we need it.
Exactly.
Guys, I can't wait till we get this new Spider-Man because then we can have something else to analyze and complain about.
Oh, totally. Superman versus Lobo is out today at your local comic book show shop, or check out Comixology. You can get it just about anywhere. With that, we'll catch you guys later. Bye.